Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you're watching this transmission. It is I, Mike Martins, bringing you another hard-hitting article here. It's actually a doozy. So share this, get this out there. Channels like mine don't, I've been shadow banned for talking about the housing crisis for the last 9 years. Anyways, that's how bad it's been getting on social media platforms. And where do we go? There's nowhere. A new platform opens up, it gets shut down. Anyways, let's stay on topic here. What is happening? Australia's immigration crisis, it's a huge deal. I've been covering the Canadian immigration crisis for a good while now with the housing and a bit of Australia, New Zealand, the UK and stuff. But this is the biggest, hardest hitting one for Canada. Canada wants more Chinese workers, students, tourist immigration minister says. And it goes on to here saying, visas have been increased from China to about 500,000 per year. Opening more visa offices could help Canada compete for Chinese workers and students. So this is a lucrative business for Canada to bring in wealthy immigrants. And Australia, what are they doing? And this is the hardest hitting article I found for Australia. And this was sent to me yesterday, and I just got to it today. Thank you for sending it to me. And it's huge. This was sent to me from a gentleman who now lives in Mexico that I've been in contact with that used to live in Australia. That's had it with Australia. Now he's been living in Mexico now for about a year. And he's done with Australia. I've lived in Mexico for 2 years, so I kind of give him ideas where to go, what states to visit, and what areas to live for work and stuff. And he's been listening to what I've been saying. He's living a happy life, and yeah, all he has to do is marry, settle down, and he's good to go, right? So this is a huge issue. This is going to change the fabric. It's going to affect every Australian citizen, and it's going to change the fabric of what it means to be Australian, right? What does it mean to be a Portuguese? I could tell you what it means to be. I'm a Portuguese. I'm an immigrant. I'm a Portuguese. But man, was it hell to get here. My parents had to jump through hoops. It took them 10 years to get citizenship. They worked it. They did everything by the book. They did careful medical updates and everything, and medical updates before arriving, so we wouldn't strain the healthcare. And then they deported tens of thousands of Portuguese once they were done with the labor and the whole thing. In the 2000s, 2005, 6, 7, and 8, they deported tens of thousands of Portuguese. They weren't welcome in Ontario anymore. Picking up kids at school, getting them to bring their parents in and stuff with the paperwork. Disaster. But what's going on here? Canada is pretty much closed immigration from Europe unless you're from France. But from the rest of Europe, it's like impossible to get into Canada. What is happening? Why is this happening? And this little fabric little fabric that's left, that little thin line of what it means to be Canadian is dying. And for me to relive or rehash the great Canadian dream, I left the city of Vancouver and moved to a small cowboy town called Merritt. It's literally a cowboy town. It's the country music capital of Canada. So now I feel like I live in Canada like it was when I was young, and my kids are going to experience that. My wife's an immigrant. She's from the Philippines. We're all immigrants one way or another. We all go back. I mean, heck, if you go back far enough, we're all related. But what I'm trying to say is the toughness of getting into Canada for my parents and my family, and the mass deportation of our culture. Tens of thousands of Portuguese were deported from Toronto, Ontario area. And what I'm not getting here is, why is it so much easier? So, I mean, is this 115,000 Portuguese going into Australia? I highly doubt that. Is it Brazilians? I don't think so. So let's find out what's going on here, because immigration's a very touchy subject for me after tons of my friends got deported and misled by employers saying, yeah, we'll extend your visa, and paying their employers to extend their visas, and they get picked up at work and thrown on a plane. And it got so bad that the president of Portugal asked the Prime Minister of Canada to actually let some of the people go home and get clothing. Because they arrive in Portugal with no change of clothes. Some of them arrive with work clothes. And the article's there for you to read. It's online. The president of Portugal asked, just let them get some clothes at home, like a briefcase. No, they go right on a plane. So what is happening? Like, is immigration only a one-way street when it comes to different cultures? Or do they favor more cultures because of wealth? But who's going to keep up the infrastructure? Who's going to clean the streets? Who's going to take out the garbage? Who's going to... doctors? How are you going to get doctors to live in these cities anymore when the affordability levels are skyrocketing out of control? Okay. Record number of immigrants arrive in Australia with 115,000 landing in just 1 month. I thought this one, Canada wants more Chinese, 500,000 per year, was a huge number of people to bring in. And the problem is, in 1 month, 115,000. But are they going to become Australian? Are they going to become Australian? Like, are they going to follow the fundamentals of what it means to be an Australian? See, I don't know what it means to be an Australian. I speak English, but I don't know what it means to be an Australian. I'm not Australian, right? I know what it means to be a Canadian. In my younger years, I knew what Canada was about. But it's changed and molded into something that's bizarro. You know? And if I was anti-immigration, then I wouldn't be here, and then my wife would I wouldn't have married my wife, you know. But anyways, landing in just 1 month despite government promises to reduce the intake. More than 115,000 people moved to Australia in February, new figures show. A record of 844,800 immigrants came to Australia in the year end of February. Official data released hours after Prime Minister Scott Morrison called an election. Okay, guys. So year end, 844,000 immigrants came to Australia. Okay, guys. Now, I want to ask you guys something that they're living down under. Is Australia in desperate need of immigrants to come in? Are they in desperate need of jobs being filled? Like, is the economy so booming that they need more and more manpower to keep the fabrication, all the oil pumping, the natural gas pumping, to get all those taps turned on and get them working, you know, get more people, manpower in the workforce? Is it a need? In Canada, I could tell you it's not. In Canada, it's really tough to find work. It's really hard, unless they want to bring in people to come in that speak the language of the other people that are already working at those other positions. And what I mean by that is, when I used to live in Vancouver, I would go to the Royal Bank of Canada, or RBC, and I would go get to talk to... But it was really tough to find anyone that spoke proper English in the whole branch. It was an absolute disaster. So maybe they're bringing in more people, I guess, to work and to actually accommodate the people that do speak the other languages that are being spoken. Does that make sense? I don't know. But Australia's immigration rate has surged to a new record high, with more than 115,000 permanent arrivals in just 1 month. The Australian Bureau of Statistics released the new immigration figures on Thursday, hours after Prime Minister Scott Morrison called an election for May 18. The overseas arrival showed 115,000 new people declared Australia as their new home in February, as annual immigration soared to a record 844,000. Okay, so my thing is, I applied to live in Australia when in my very early 20s. I went to liveinaustralia.com, and it asked for my information, and then I gave them my information, but unfortunately I was declined. I would have gone and lived there for a few years on a work visa or whatever, or just to try it out. Just to try it out. I don't think I would stay permanently, but they declined me, but for good reason now, right? The number of new immigrants during the year was 11.4% higher than the same period in 2018. When the number of people leaving Australia for good was taken into account, the net annual immigration rate stood over a 5-year high of 299,190, which includes international students. So 299,000 people left Australia. Let's say 190,000 were students. That's a lot of Australian blood leaving its coast. In March, Mr. Morrison vowed to slash Australia's net annual immigration rate from 190,000 to 160. This level, however, is still dramatically higher than the 20th century average of 70,000 per year. Australia's net annual immigration price climbed 200,000 a year in 2012. So what's happening is the Australian proper can't afford to have kids because the cost of even owning a house in Australia, if you follow me on the housing market stuff, for the last, 5 years I've been talking about Australia, it's in dire straits because the Australian proper can't afford to buy. So the Australian proper is hooped. And who pays the taxes is the Australian proper. The Australian proper is what funds all this crap. And when I say Australian proper, like, oh, Mike, you're such a racist. No. Australian proper, right, means people that have come from all over the world that work and actually pay into the infrastructure, that actually pay their way when it comes to aiding and paying taxes and being part of the community and stuff, becoming Australian, learning the language, adoring the food, the sports, the music, the lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? In 5 years after that, Sydney's median house price surged 68% as Melbourne's equivalent values rose 54% before the price correction took hold. Despite high immigration being linked with soaring house prices, Chief Economist Craig James said strong population growth was good for the economy. But the problem is the Australian proper is out of reach to buy, so they artificially lowered rates to get the Australian proper to be able to afford to buy in this heated market that they had. Now we're going back to 2014 numbers. Anything that was there is pretty much going to be wiped out. So any wealth that was gained through artificial means by artificially lowering interest rates, and it's come to an end. The party is over. And we know this. If you follow my channel for these years, you know what I'm talking about. The new migrants boast employment in short term but provide the strongest contribution to the economic output. The longer that they are in these positions, he said, more people are deciding to call Australia home, if not permanently, at least for longer than a year. The lift in permanent and long-term arrivals reflects the perception of Australia as a good place to live and work, a country with high standard of living and great opportunities. In February, 40,740 Australians moved overseas either permanently or for more than a year. So a lot of Australians are leaving. Do people believe in the idea of Australia anymore? Is it still an idea that works? Australia's 1.6% annual population increase is more than double the average of rich nations in their Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. In March, the news poll of more than 1,000 voters in Sydney and regional New South Wales found 25% of respondents wanted Australia's immigration pace to be slashed. Australia's population surpassed 25 million milestone in August, 22 years earlier than predicted in the federal government's first intergenerational report of 2002. So here's the Australian population and growth. So in 1881 it was 2.3 million, 1918 5 million, 1959 10 million, 1981 15 million, 1991 17.4 million, 2004 20 million, 2013 23 million, 2016 24 million, and 2018 25 million. So this is see, at least in Canada, they're kind of more honest about when they write these articles out. Plain and simple. Get to the point. Right to the point. Visas have been increasing to China for about 500,000 people per year. By opening more visa offices could help Canada compete for Chinese workers, students, and lucrative businesses. So, money, blah, blah, spending money in Canada and how much they spend when they come to Canada. So, it is something that's at least Canada's being honest at forefront about, and honest about, I guess, and kind of throwing that out there. But like, you see, guys, comment below in the comments, okay? Because my channel's based off conversation, right? Does Australia need more immigrants? That's the question. Does Australia need the manpower, right? According to this, jobs are getting filled and people are working. So if the government doesn't have to print money to pay off its debts, it could tax workers, which it's supposed to do. It tax their labor, which I think is illegal, but taxing their labor into funding public sector jobs and funding public sector things like hospitals and police and all that other stuff, right? So I just want to call a spade, you know? Is it working in Canada? I don't think it is. But like I said, I would have never met my wife. But my wife went through hoops to get here and had to get a company to sponsor her. Same thing when I went to trying to immigrate to the United States of America when I lived in Florida. It took me 5 years and they declined me. I did everything by the book. I had a company sponsor me, a big company, big corporation. I was going to be a technical director for 2 major production facilities down there in South Florida. And they did all my paperwork. They paid for it and everything. And I paid my lawyer through my side, but they paid for all the advertising to make sure I wasn't stealing an American's job. They made sure I wasn't doing this, I wasn't doing that, and I wasn't coming down to do this, a police background check, blah, blah, blah. And I went to the formal interview in person. We spoke, we had a few laughs, we talked, we went over everything, and they declined me. The owner of the company that wanted me to work there was furious. He was at the golf course, from what I heard, and he threw his clubs, and he threw a club, I heard, and got pretty teed off, and basically ended his round of golf. He was so mad. He was calling lawyers. He's like, what the heck is going on? And it is what it is, guys. I mean, if a country decides they don't want you in their country, they're doing the right thing because they're protecting their own good. But how is it flooding so many people? Are they checking these people? Are they saying, are you stealing an Australian's job? Are you, is there a company that's actually sponsoring you? Did you do your physical? Let's do our formal interview. Let's do this, let's do that. Do all these people get dumped in like that, and they go through this stringent process and see if they get approved or not? That's a really good question, you know what I'm saying? A lot of the Portuguese that were deported from Canada, a lot of them owned their homes for 5, 10, 15 years. Had kids going to school and college and university. And they were just thrown on a plane, and they had to call real estate agents from overseas to sell their properties and their furniture, to put their furniture in storage or whatever, and it was an absolute disaster. And a lot of these people, hardworking, like my dad and my parents and stuff, we paid off their homes into 5, 6 years and worked hard, go to church on Sundays, you know, that kind of stuff, you know? So what is happening? See, that's why immigration is very important to me. Very important. I was disallowed in Australia. I was disallowed in the United States. I was disallowed pretty much almost anywhere. I mean, if Canada had the choice, they kick me out of here right quick in a heartbeat if they had a choice. They send me to Portugal. Mind you, Portugal is my little retirement place because nice and quiet. A couple of islands off the coast of Africa belong to Portugal. Not saying too much. Anyways, guys, if you want to support this transmission, please share one of my videos. That's all I ask. I've been shadow banned. A lot of my Australia housing videos have been taken down. I lost another 8 today for some bizarro reason. 8 of them have been flagged as bullying and harassment. I've been having a lot of troubles for some weird reason, and these are the ones that were taken down. And for some weird reason, they've been taking down my videos. And I've been talking about this for years, and I know I'm bringing this up quite a few times, but I deserve to. Sydney, Vancouver housing crash, 47% by 2016. Something wasn't real. Something wasn't normal. Debt prison, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand. This is November 11, 2015. And I've been talking about this for so many years, and I've been sticking to my guns for years when people were telling me that, oh, Mike, you're delusional. Price is this. The economy's strong. It's like, no. Supply versus demand is an illusion. So oversupply coming in 2016. I was wrong about that because I didn't expect the government to do what it did. and interest-only loans and first-time buyer loans and all this crap. Sydney, Vancouver, Auckland, London, massive housing correction, spring 2017. And it's happening now. But I was dead wrong with the dates. Absolutely dead wrong with the dates. You know what I'm saying? So this is the documentary I'm working on for you guys, kind of throwing something together that's not as common as all the bandwagoners that are doing. Anyways, 844,000 people came. Wow. That's phenomenal. I need you guys to comment below. This video might get flagged, or it might be demonetized, or it might be... let me show you guys one more thing if you're still watching. Thanks for watching if you're still watching, guys. Let me go here. I want to show this to you guys. I have a video here that was taken down twice for bullying and harassment, and it's called Sydney, Australia in 1955. It has 1,000 views on it, and it's just a look back. It's my yearbook section in my channel, and all I did was collect a bunch of vintage photos from 1955 in Sydney, and I kind of wanted to show people what it looked like in 1955, give people a taste of what Australia looked like if they were there in Sydney, if they were there in 1955. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to create any ripple effects or any hate, but the amount of hate I got from this video was just absolutely phenomenal. Anyways, I'll leave this video at the end of this video. Please watch it and share it, support the transmission, and thanks for watching.